to the Red Lipstick Conversation. It is Monday. Y'all, I've been fiending to get here, okay? Fiending to get here. But welcome to the Red Lipstick Conversation. I am your host, naturally, NaTasha. And each week we have bold, real, unscripted conversations. And we just want to give you some insight on conversations with all different people from all different walks of life, traveling all different roads professionally and personally with my top notch guests. Y'all, today's guest is none other than Bridgette Bracey Pridgen. Y'all, she is so freaking dope. I just had to get her on this live. She is a holistic interior designer. You cannot say that you know another holistic interior designer because you are lying if you do. Because when she said that she was a holistic interior designer, I was like, wait a minute, what? So y'all know I am all about looking good with my image consultant, me being a stylist with love for fashion.
Yes.
We we just sparked fire when we have conversations because when you look good, you feel good, but when your space looks good, it feels good too. So Bridgette, to start off the show, I like to
Yes.
ask a question, and I want to ask, how has being bold played a role in your life?
Ooh. Oh, how has being bold? Okay. Let's see here. That stumped me. Well, I guess I have to say, it took me a while to actually be bold, honestly. And that's actually the story of many of us women out there that, that tend to dim our light, so to speak. And so for me, it took a lot for me to actually stand out there and be bold, and taking risk in my life as well as my career. Example, holistic interior design.
Okay. So do you think that stepping out to your career, that was basically a bold move, right? For
Oh
you to
yes.
get into this.
Oh yes, very, very bold move because it's not many people who are in the wellness sector of interior
Hmm.
design or the holistic sector, and it's definitely not as many African American women actually in this field either. So it was very bold to kind of, I always tell people I'm like the unicorn, but
Hmm.
I'm okay with being a unicorn. And so it works for me because after, like I said earlier, for me, it was kind of hard for me to kind of, not dim my light for many, many years. And so one of those reasons is because I've always been so different, eccentric, so to speak. And
Hmm.
so a unicorn. And it took me a while to really get to that point where I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to be that unicorn. And so that was really it for me.
Okay. So since you touched on that, let
Mhm.
walk us through that journey of coming into your boldness, coming into accepting the fact that you are a unicorn. Like, how did you get into holistic interior designing? Is that a thing or is that something that you created?
Oh no, no, it's actually a thing.
Okay.
Some people use it interchangeably with wellness interior design. So
Okay.
wellness, holistic, and so what holistic interior design is, we focus on the wellness and well-being of the people who occupy the space. So
Okay.
it goes farther than just the beauty and the aesthetics of a space. We're focusing on the mind, the body, the soul, the whole person. So it's really people are people centered design basically. And so it's been around. It's been, it was kind of hot in like 2012, for a little bit, and then it kind of fell off. But it really originated mostly in hospital settings or um in the medical field, where people were really understanding how the space of these medical facilities, how they affected people's healing. So they would um, utilize these wellness modalities and these wellness practices inside of these commercial buildings, to improve the overall well-being of the people and their health. And so, as far as for me and how I got into it, I've always been a holistic girl, the herb, what my friends call me, the herb lady. for many reasons. And so the herb lady, always dibbling dabbling in the holistic world, and even the sustainability side and eco-friendly side of things. I grew up on a ranch and with horses and the whole garden and all that type of thing. And so for me, it was just second nature for me to tap into my roots and where I came
Mhm.
from. And so fast forward just a little bit about my story. In 2017, I had to have heart surgery. And then from there, my 2 months later, my husband had a massive heart attack. My surgery wasn't as extensive as his.
Mhm.
And then during this process, of course, our world is being turned upside down. And so now I'm on this journey from being a mother, a wife, and business owner to now a full-time caregiver. So during this time, my husband at the time, he had a quadruple bypass. Then he had a stroke on the table. So he's having to learn how to walk and talk and turn over and do all these things all over again. And so one of the things they told us when he came home from the hospital, and they said that his ejection fracture was so low that he was going to have to get a defibrillator. Well,
Mhm.
I took it into my own hands to research things that naturally we could do to increase his injection fraction. And so that's where I pivoted. I've always had that background. I've always had that, that love and that natural instinct and innate ability with the holistic world. But
Mhm.
when he got sick, it really took another turn for me because I had to do something to keep him from getting a defibrillator, right? And
Mhm.
I knew that it was not the medicine route that we wanted to go solely. And so from there, that started that journey with me going back into the holistic medicine and using these holistic modalities to help heal him. Hmm.
Mm. So, wow. That is it's crazy how we go through things, right? And we don't realize how the things God uses these things to birth
Yes,
businesses and to push us to be bold, right? So
yes,
that was
yes.
his way of pushing you to be bold. Did
Oh
you
yeah.
have to so what did it look like when he came home? Is that when you decided that, hey, I need to fix this space, I need to adjust the space? Because how did
Mhm.
you pivot from the holistic herbs to now a holistic space?
Well, it started with me actually sitting in my closet crying, and it because he was at home with me for 8 months, rehabilitating, and like I say, I went from being a just his wife to now his full caregiver. And so during that time, we learned that our house was not conducive for a wheelchair, all of those things that we were not prepared for. Making sure that we had enough space for him to get around in the wheelchair and
Mm.
so forth. But I was sitting in my closet, and it actually was a little over a year after he came home from the hospital, and my I was sitting in my closet, and it was a complete mess. And actually my closet had become a safe haven for me during this whole
Yes.
this whole process of him being ill. That's what I hid from my kids, and my in-laws and all that. And so
Yes.
that was my spot. But I'm sitting in this closet and I'm like, oh, I'm really looking for some shoes that I did not have a mate to. And I was literally finna put on two mixed match shoes. And so during this time, I'm like, why am I living like this? My closet look like it's a third world country in here, and I got a little family in the background living in here. And I was sitting there just crying my eyes out. And I looked over and I saw my hospital bags were still packed. And because we were so going back and forth to the
Back and forth.
hospital,
Yeah.
back and forth, and I was just like, oh my god, it's almost 2 years later and the bags are still packed. And so for me, I didn't realize at that moment the trauma that I had experienced, and how it was causing all of this. So while I'm sitting in this closet, about to put on these mixed match shoes, that's when God spoke to me, and he said to heal the people, but to heal you and yours first. And I'm like, what?
Mm.
Like, are you serious? I can barely get out of bed because after this 8 months of helping him to rehabilitate, I was not taking care of my own myself. I was just
Right.
going through the motions. And so I'm like, heal the people. And so at that time, I sat with that for a few days actually. And I really wanted to dive deep into what I was experiencing and what I was feeling. And so while I was sitting in that closet and I was thinking, I'm like, what does it really mean? Because my background is psychology, and my education is psychology, and it's like, what does it mean to have a cluttered closet? And it
Mm,
says it's a sign of pain because you're padding, you're hiding. The whole term coming out of the closet, that's where it comes from. People are hiding and now they're coming out, right? Well,
yeah.
your closet and your spaces, and it also your cabinets, um up under your bed, all those places that most people can't see are places that we tend to hide things, right? And
Yeah.
so your closet represents pain, and when it's out of order and it's cluttered, that is a sign of a thing going on interior. And so when I thought about that, I'm like, okay, I get it. Because at that moment, I had struggled with some suicidal thoughts, feeling like I didn't want to go on from
Mm,
everything that was hitting me left and right. And so I was padding because, again, the front and common areas of my home was put together because that's what the world can see. When people come visit you,
yes.
they see your living room, they see your office, but they can't see that
Yes.
closet. And
Yes.
so that's what that represents, pain. Hmm.
Mm, mm. Wow. Like I can so resonate with that.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Like with me being a realtor, like I thought I got into real estate to be this luxury realtor, right? Like so
Uh-huh.
when I was not getting these luxury listings or these luxury clients, like I could not understand why. Like I could
Mm.
not understand, but it was like every time I would go show a house, I would like God was showing me like different reflections. Like he was
Mm.
dealing with me. I'm thinking I'm going to show this house for a client, but he
Uh-huh.
was showing me in the midst of this showing. So you saying like you were in your closet crying, it put me back. It took me back because I would too be in my closet crying. Or
Mhm.
on my TEDx when I just, had my TEDx talk a couple of weeks ago, I elaborated on how the bathroom is my space.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
bathroom is where I go to find my peace. The bathroom is where I go to find, like, to get my life together, to have these
Mhm.
honest conversations with myself. But then after I started doing more research, it's not just the bathroom, it's me immersing myself in the water while I'm in the bathroom.
Oh yes. Oh, that water is something else. It's
That's, you get what I'm
powerful.
saying? Like,
Oh
yes,
yeah.
and I think people don't realize, you and I, even though we're in these real estate sectors of things, it is
Mhm.
mental. Like
Mhm.
what's going on with people's mental real estate? Like they don't
Oh yes.
understand that our bodies are real estate. We are real estate.
Oh yes. And that's also when people say you a holistic interior designer, I'm like, yeah. But interior design is really a play on words for me as well, because I'm
Yeah,
not only helping people to heal their interior, their physical dwelling, but I'm also helping
yeah.
them to heal their interior, and it
Interior.
goes
Yes.
hand in hand. And if I had one thing I want people to learn from me by the time I leave this earth is to know that the correlation between self and what goes on here and what goes on in your environment and how they are interconnected. They're not
Yes.
separated, they're one and the same. And when people can
Yes.
understand that everything in your environment, good, bad, or indifferent, affects you here, and everything that's going on here will affect your environment. Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes. This is so good. Be like, girl, this is so like this is so good. So, whoo, I got so much I want to say about this because that knowing knowing what's going on your inside, right? So when
Mhm.
we first moved into this into my house, right? We got our home built from the ground up. That's everyone's
Mhm.
goal, right? I talk to so
Yeah.
many people as a realtor. I want to build my own house. I want to build my own house. But people don't really know what they're saying when they want to build their own house. They don't
Uh-huh.
understand why they want to build their own house. They don't even understand why they place things the way that they place things or the colors that they choose. And so
Mhm.
what I realized after I was on my self-awareness journey, my awakening, like now I find myself telling my husband, like, I want to move, I want to move. And he like, well, why? We're good here.
Mhm.
It's like, because I'm no longer good here. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. Oh
Like I
yes.
don't like my emotions no longer fit where I am. And so
Yes. You're
people,
elevating.
it's I'm elevating. Like you came here, like even down to the colors that I chose. When I was, in my healing journey, it was like, I don't
Mhm.
want white. It's plain. I want to put my texture in it. So I chose
Uh-huh.
gray walls, right?
Uh-huh.
But now that I'm healed and I'm like this vibrant and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna wear pink every day and I'm gonna wear
Uh-huh.
yellow every day. It no longer fits me. It doesn't make, and working from home, let's touch on that. I really
Mhm.
want you to talk about working from home, how your
Okay.
space needs to be ideal for you to be your best self.
Oh yes, it needs to be conducive for you to show up better for one. I want to go back to something you said. Now you're wearing more pink and yellow.
Pink, yellow, like
Mhm.
greens, like it's like I just feel so like spicy. You know what I'm saying? I feel
I
like
like it
I
spicy.
feel bright and yeah, like
So let me tell you,
yeah.
because I am a certified color therapist. So let me tell you a little bit about those colors and why you're drawn to those colors. It's very interesting that you said that you painted your walls gray when you were going through your healing phase. Okay, so a lot of times people look at the color gray and they think, sadness. They think depression, all those different things that's associated with the color gray. Okay, but on
Mhm.
the flip side, you're now drawn to the color pink. Pink is a color that represents femininity. It's also a color that represents newness. It also is a healing color. But the color, but you in your space, if I remember correctly, um, fuchsia. You had fuchsia, so it's a derivative
Yes.
of pink and red, but it is a color that means harmony. Okay, so now
Mm,
you're wearing. I've noticed you love that fuchsia, that kind of magenta look, that lip you wear. That's also because our bodies actually will gravitate towards what it needs. Okay, so you were
mm,
gravitating toward that gray in the beginning because that's the place that you were. That's the mindset that you were at that particular moment. Yellow, the other choice. Yellow is a color of confidence. Okay. So that spiciness that you feel, you have a level of confidence now that you didn't have when you painted those walls gray. I can
mm.
almost bet you because
Wow.
your body it's literally you're gravitating to where you are right now. So while you're elevating, your wardrobe is elevating, it's changing. Now the things that you may have picked, a few years ago when you were healing, it's different from what you're wearing now. So that's why you're
Yes.
picking these colors because your body is saying, okay, I don't need this anymore. Now you're standing in your femininity. Now you're standing in, you know who you are. You know what you desire, that confidence. So that's the reason that you are drawn to those different colors. I'm sorry, I got a headache. Ooh. But the other thing you said about your space and having your space conducive for working at home, right?
Mhm.
So one of my biggest takeaways for that is really taking heed to what is it that you actually need. A lot of times we'll create a space, and we'll create it off of beauty and aesthetics because we like the way things look, and people forget
Yes.
about the functionality, but not
Yes.
only just the functionality, but we forget about what our goals are and what we're trying to achieve. So if you're designing a space that you're working from for your home, or you working from home, you also want to think about what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Because that space needs to be reflective of that. And
Yeah.
like you say, it's not where you're where in the past, is where you're going.
Going.
So you also want to think about those things when you're designing your space.
Mm. Let me see. We got some comments. Listen, y'all, if y'all have any questions for Bridgette, y'all better pick her brain while she is here because listen, this lady is busy and on point. Okay. So, oh, all right. So do you let's go back a little bit. So you
Okay.
said that the closet was somewhere that you were hiding all your pain. Do
Hmm.
you I've always been a person like ever since a kid, like I loved the bathroom. Do
Okay.
you feel like when you were younger, did you have those same, like, was the closet still a place that you went when you were in pain, when you were hurt?
Hmm. Well, that's, you know what? No one has ever asked me that, and I've never thought about it from my childhood. But honestly, I used to hide in my closet because I was scared a lot as a child. And that was one of the places that I hid, physically hid, because at the time we had had a break in our home, and I was terrified from it. And I used to hide and sleep in my closet because that's how I felt protected at the moment. So I
So go
never even
so
thought
then
about
that
that.
would make so then that would make sense on
Hmm.
why you went there when you were going through your pain, because I'm sure when you go through pain you're scared too. You don't know,
Oh
here
yeah.
you are having your own health issues. Now you're a
Hmm.
full-time caregiver, you not knowing what to expect, with your
Yes.
husband. And so that was just a question because I was like, because
Yep.
I noticed, like, with as I became self-aware, and I really always, like, if people pay attention to um my hashtags that I use when I post something, I always say self-awareness journey,
Hmm.
because I think that that is so important for us to become self-aware
Oh
before we
yes.
can even, resonate with someone else or try to have someone else help us on our healing journey. We first have to be aware of the things that are broken.
Oh yes.
And
Definitely.
so in my self-awareness, I actually took the time to go back, and even with this TEDx experience, it made me
Hmm.
go back to that place, and I just noticed that a lot of things that we do as adults were
Hmm.
things that we did as kids as well. But
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
shut it out. You get what I'm saying? We shut
Oh
it
yes.
out, or that's our, what is it, coping mechanism to block
Hmm.
things out. But if you take the time to really go back, take the time to learn more about yourself, you'll notice that this color, like, remember when we're growing up, people be like, well, what's your favorite color? It was a reason why you had a favorite color then,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah,
So
you're
my
right.
favorite color used to be purple. So what does that mean? Like, as a kid,
Purple.
I loved pink. Yes, pink and purple. Those were my two favorite colors.
Okay, so purple, it represents royalty. And it also represents spirituality, which both of those resonate.
Both of those, I know. Like, I see, mom, you on here? I told y'all that I was a queen. Like, I've been told y'all. Like, so that makes a lot of sense. So,
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. It is a very spiritual color, and it's a color, and it's also a color that can be utilized in luxury as well.
mm,
So all of that is you
yes,
up and down.
that is really, that's really cool. Okay, so what would you tell somebody who is, um let's talk about this, because I really want to touch on this before I forget, because, like, you
Mhm.
just said so much, I want to touch on so much, but I know we got a little bit of time. All right, so let's talk about people designing their space with quantity things over quality things.
Mm.
So you know how people will go and be like, "Girl, I ain't spending all that money. You better go. You better get this from Ross, or you better get this from whatever, whatever," which is fine and dandy.
Uh-huh.
But does that have an emotional effect to why we choose the cheaper things and not want to spend more on, quality things? Or, can you touch on that? Do you get where I'm trying to go with that?
Well, you're saying people are buying cheaper things that from
Cheaper
Ross.
things just to fill, just to fit. No, not just Ross. I'm just saying,
Mm-hmm.
like, for me, I like nothing, no shade, y'all. I love Ross. I love
Uh-huh.
getting stuff for less, but it's how you pick. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's how
Oh
you
yeah.
pick the things.
Yeah, yeah. It's how you pick. You want your staple pieces, but the most important thing is to understand that your space should tell a story, but it should tell your story and not someone on Pinterest story. First of
Yes.
all,
Yes.
because we're so many times people will utilize Google Images and Pinterest, and it surpasses inspiration. It goes into mimicking, and they are what's the word you know what I'm trying to
Stealing
say.
somebody else's style because
Yeah.
they do it all
Well,
the
not even
time.
that, not even from a negative standpoint. It's just like people don't take the time to really dig deep into what they really
They
like.
really
You
want,
know,
yeah,
they may see something that looks pretty and they try to imitate it.
yeah.
But you have to look at it as, does this tell my story? And then after you ask yourself, does it tell your story? Then it's like, okay, well, what is my story? And
Hmm.
then how is my story translated in the pieces that I pick, in the furnishings that I choose, in the artwork that I have, so all of that is about you. That's why people focus design is so big, holistic design, because we're not looking at it just from, this looks nice, oh, this is the appropriate size. We're looking at it because this is something that resonates with you. This is something that is intentional, So when you're picking pieces, the rule of thumb when it comes to design, you want to pick, and let's just use, because you mentioned Ross, let's use your accessories. You want to pick things that stand out to you, and you want to start with larger pieces. Actually, things tend to get cluttered when you start using a whole lot of little bitty pieces. So instead of that small vase, you want to get a larger vase, something with a bigger scale, because it's going to take up more space, more volume, in that particular room,
Hmm.
and you won't have to use so many of those smaller things. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. Because
Mhm.
I remember you was getting on me. Now tell them about the pillows, because you know how people love pillows. What is the rule of thumb to how many pillows you supposed to have on your couch?
So it's not a rule as many as how many it is, because that depends on how big the sofa is. It's
Hmm.
more about even and odd. You do it in odd numbers. So it's not about even numbers. So if you're styling a vignette, and a vignette is just a grouping, another word, but we use vignette for groupings. And so if you're styling a vignette of pillows, so to speak, instead of you putting 4 pillars in this particular area, you will use 3 or 5. So you don't use even numbers. It actually balances it out, even though it's not an even number.
Okay, so I have a question. I
Hmm.
like the color red, black, silver, and orange. My home has always been accessorized with these colors. Can you tell me why?
Okay. Um, let's start with, I'm gonna do red last. Black is a color that means sophistication. It's a color that, on a positive scale, will it represents luxury. It's timeless. Silver is also accent color. It's a color that represents metal. Like in feng shui, you have your 5 elements, so it represents metal. Orange is a color of success. So if you're always seeking success, or you have this thought of success in your mind, orange is a good color for that. However, orange can be overstimulating. So it's really important when you use these colors to use them appropriately in a space. So if you are painting your bedroom wall orange, that will not be a good idea, because it has on the positive end, it represents success, but on a negative side, it is overstimulating. So it's not a good color to utilize in your bedroom. So it's a color that's more appropriate to be used and also that color can be overpowering. So you want to use that as accents. You know, you don't want to paint the whole room orange, okay? Because it'll do the opposite effect, okay? And then it'll be used best in places like playrooms or game room, or sometimes in offices as well, because that's a place where you're going to work. You want to be creative, so it's a color that's going to, promote your creativity. Red, on the other hand, it represents passion. It represents power. It is a power couple, a power move with the red lip. But red also, on the negative side, can raise your blood pressure. It can also
Mm.
stimulate your appetite. So if you got a lot of red in your bedroom and you
You
wondering why
hungry all the time.
you
You
hungry all the
eating.
time, you wonder why you snacking at night, you might want to get that red out of your bedroom. Red is more appropriate for your dining room or your kitchen. I'm not a
But
big fan.
if it's if red makes you snack all the time, would that even be good for a kitchen? Because then you're still snacking all the time.
Well, and see, the thing in me, and I'm just not a fan of using red that often in kitchens and dining rooms either, unless it's used in spurts. I am not going to paint a wall red. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but that's not my thing.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I can see why you say that, but most people, that's where they eat at anyway. You know, most of their meals are in the kitchen or the dining room anyway, so red is appropriate in those areas, but it's very, it does the opposite effect in your bedroom, as well in
So
your office.
okay, so do you have any suggestions um for say you're a mom and you have a young child, or I wouldn't even say young child, or you have a child in general, and they may have like some mental health challenges or mental health issues, what would
hmm
be a color that um you would offer or suggest that that parent use throughout the space to try to keep the calmness in the home?
Well, that's a real. I can throw out colors that will help calm someone. Of course, green, teal, turquoise, those type of colors. But you also have to think about that particular child, and what some may be stimulated and some may be understimulated, if that makes sense. So
Mm.
it just depends on that particular child and that and their disability. But to start off with, no oranges, no yellows, no neon colors at all. No neon, and you want to limit your neon lights, anything like that, your LED lights. You would want to limit those as well. I would also suggest that they focus, even before the color, I would say they focus on the blue light. The blue light from our phones, from our iPads, those are more harmful than just the color on the wall, because how our body absorbs light. That's why it's very harming to us to grab our phones the first thing in the morning. So the light that we see when we first wake up should not be blue light. It should be sunlight, because that sunlight getting into our eyes when we first wake up in the morning is what's going to control our cortisone levels and our melatonin. So, oh, I'm sorry, I got a bad migraine. I'm so sorry. But that is what's going to control our levels and our hormone levels throughout the day. So to start with, you want to focus on, for those children that may be in spaces that are overstimulating, is to limit the blue light as much as possible. For younger kids, they even have chromotherapy glasses that you can get, and well, for anyone actually, but it's very helpful for younger kids that may be struggling with the blue light. It's kind of hard for them to get away from it. You can use the orange light therapy glasses, and that will help, limit that light as well.
So what about, okay, so I think I told you, so my dad had a stroke.
hmm
So what would you suggest for other stroke stroke victims or stroke survivors or people that may be like dealing with like breast cancer and stuff, because you said like colors are healing. Is
Mm-hmm.
there a specific color, to help them feel like, to give them that extra push or to continue to fight? Because like when you go in the hospital, there's no colors on the walls. When
Mm-hmm.
you go in school, I mean, they may, but they, for the most part, they just keep it, real basic.
Well, the universal color of healing is green, actually.
Okay, so
So
green
green,
is just the color.
yeah, green is a color that is very healing. It is also the color that brings in nature and make you think of nature, and nature is healing. But what I
And
want
money
people
is
to really,
healing, and it's
yeah,
green.
yes, money is definitely healing.
Yeah.
But I really want people to think about what is it that they want for themselves, and how do they want to feel. And that's the first question I ask my clients when I go on a design consultation is, how do you want to feel? Because every color does evoke an emotion. But sometimes people don't even realize how they want to feel,
Mm,
because it's always about mimicking what they see. I want my room to look like hers. I want to do what she did on Instagram, or that type of thing. And so I want people to dig deeper into figuring out what it is that they desire and what it is that they need. And so by doing that is asking yourself, how do you want to feel? And so these people that are, stroke survivors and, dealing with, these illnesses, they really want to tap into, like you were talking about early, their interior self, and try to see what it is that works for them. Because it's not, I can say green is healing for me, but green may not be healing for someone else. Even though, traditionally, green is a healing color,
mm,
but it may make someone else feel uncomfortable because of a memory that they have. You get what I'm saying? So I don't want people to get so stuck and so rigid with the thought of, this is the only thing that I should use, or
mhm.
this is the only color I should try to use this color because I want to do this. I want people to think about this first,
Yeah.
first and foremost, before you think about anybody else or what I'm saying about what colors I'm recommending. Think about how you want to feel and what makes you feel good,
Yes.
and start there.
Yes, and this is why I wanted you on this show, because I am all about authenticity. I'm all
Yes.
about pushing people to own it, to own themselves.
Yes.
And it's so similar to where people don't realize that it starts with you being self aware. You need to be
Yes.
aware of how you want to feel. You need to be aware of how you want to look. You need to be aware of what you want to eat. Like, you have to start with you first before me as a realtor or a life coach can come in. You can come in as an interior design. If you do not know anything about you, we can't
Mhm.
help you. you
Exactly,
know
exactly.
like,
And
so
and then too, with interior design, a lot of people don't realize how transformational this can be. Not just from, I'm coming in and I'm transforming your space. The process of interior
the
design, I
experience.
have had more people cry on through a design process than I have with just, I don't know, any other experience. Because interior design can really make people, it taps into limiting beliefs, it taps into scarcity mentality, their money issues. It taps into, well, big mama used to do it like this, so I need to do it like this, that type of thing. Like, it
Yes.
brings up some stuff, baby. It really does.
Yes. Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing how people, how interior design can really transform someone's life.
Yes. And a lot of people don't reach out to interior designers because of what you said. The money is the biggest thing,
Oh
and that
yeah.
is the
Oh yeah.
biggest blockage for people to get the help that they need, is because it starts with that self-awareness, that mindset,
Hmm.
and that money.
And then too, a lot of people are uneducated when it comes to what interior design really is and what it is that we're doing.
Mm,
Most people only, when they kind of limit us to, oh, you're just picking out a sofa. No, I'm not just picking out a sofa, baby. I'm picking out a sofa that's going to improve your functionality in your space. It's the appropriate size and scale. I'm picking out a sofa that's going to work for you, your pet, your little kids. And then I'm also thinking about this sofa is not made with foam in it that has formaldehyde in it. You know, all those different things go into me just picking out a sofa. It's bigger than that. And then too, I'm saving you time. I'm giving you, I've already done the leg work for you, so I'm taking a lot of that pressure off of you. So a lot of people have that misconception that it's something that is so simple, and they kind of, equate it to, oh, I can do this myself, which a lot of people can, don't get me wrong, but what we do is very transformational.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, sis. This was so good. I hope y'all
Thank
got
you
a
for having me.
takeaways from this conversation. If y'all are not following Bridgette, y'all need to follow her. Sis, give them your social medias.
Yes, you can find us on everywhere at Conscience Led Design. That's CONSCIENCE LED
Yes, y'all make sure y'all book with my sis. I'm telling you, I had my consultation. She is really good at what she does. Listen, we are just here. The whole point of having this conversation is to just extend ourselves to you guys, to let you know that whatever area that you may be struggling in, that there is a professional out there, an expert out there that can help you get your life, your house, everything
Yes,
together.
get your
So
life and your house in
right,
order.
get your life and your house in order, okay?
Yes,
Yes. So
definitely.
we thank y'all so much for tuning in, and make sure y'all tune in next week, next Monday, same time, same channel. Oh, and one more thing, y'all, this is my new merch. Own it.
Oh, I like it.
Y'all can purchase it. Thank you. It's the
And
pink
look at
color.
that color. Look at
Look,
that color.
it's pink. Y'all can purchase it on my website, ownitonYou.com. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We will talk to y'all next week.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. See you
Bye.
later. Bye.